Apple has quietly released iOS 26.4.1, and at first glance, it may seem like just another routine update. No flashy new features, no big redesigns, and no headline-grabbing announcements. But if you've been using your iPhone over the past couple of weeks, this update could be far more important than it looks. Because sometimes, the most critical updates are not the ones that add features, but the ones that fix what's broken. Let's break this down in a simple way. Just a couple of weeks ago, Apple rolled out iOS 26.4, a fairly major update packed with new features across apps like Apple Music, Messages, Health, and more. It introduced smarter playlists, improvements to messaging, and even better health tracking tools. But as with many large software updates, it also brought along some unexpected problems. And one of those problems turned out to be quite serious. Users and developers quickly noticed that iCloud syncing was not working properly across multiple apps. That means your photos, passwords, notes, and even app data might not have been syncing correctly between your devices. Think about that for a moment. If iCloud sync breaks, your entire Apple ecosystem starts to feel unreliable. Your iPhone, iPad, and Mac are supposed to work seamlessly together, but if data isn't syncing, you could see outdated information, missing files, or inconsistent app behavior. That's exactly the kind of issue Apple cannot afford to leave unresolved. And this is where iOS 26.4.1 comes in. This update is primarily focused on fixing that iCloud sync issue. It restores proper communication between Apple's cloud services and your device, ensuring that everything from passwords to notifications works smoothly again. But that's not all. Reports suggest that Apple also improves system stability and performance across the board. That includes smoother notification handling, better keyboard accuracy, and even improved thermal efficiency, which means your phone may run slightly cooler during heavy usage. Now, if you're wondering why Apple didn't just include all of this in iOS 26.4 in the first place, the answer is simple. Modern operating systems are incredibly complex. When Apple releases a major update, it has to work across millions of devices, thousands of apps, and countless usage scenarios. Even with extensive testing, some bugs only appear when millions of real users start interacting with the software. That's why follow-up updates like iOS 26.4.1 are so common. In fact, this has become a pattern. Apple releases a major update, users discover issues, and then a smaller patch quickly follows to stabilize the experience. We've seen this with previous versions as well, where updates like iOS 26.0.1 fixed Wi-Fi and photo-related bugs shortly after launch. So, in a way, iOS 26.4.1 is part of Apple's larger strategy to continuously refine its software. Now let's talk about what this means for you as a user. If you are currently on iOS 26.4, updating to 26.4.1 is highly recommended. Even if you haven't noticed any issues, bugs like iCloud sync problems can sometimes happen silently in the background. You might not immediately realize that something is wrong until data goes missing or fails to update. This update is also relatively small, typically under 600 megabytes, and can be installed directly from your settings. And importantly, it doesn't introduce new features, which means it's less likely to create new problems. Instead, it focuses on making your existing experience more reliable. However, it's worth noting that not everything is perfect yet. Some minor issues may still remain, such as inconsistencies with Siri dictation or variations in battery performance depending on how you use your device. This is normal in the world of software updates. No system is ever completely bug-free. The goal is continuous improvement, not perfection. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Why do updates like iOS 26.4.1 matter in the broader tech landscape? Because they highlight a shift in how technology companies operate today. In the past, software releases were more static. You bought a device, and the software stayed mostly the same. Today, your smartphone is constantly evolving. Companies like Apple are essentially running a live service, where updates are pushed regularly to fix issues, improve performance, and sometimes even add entirely new capabilities. This also ties into security. Even though Apple hasn't detailed the exact security fixes in this update, it's very likely that iOS 26.4.1 includes patches for vulnerabilities. And in today's world, where cyber threats are constantly evolving, staying updated is not just about features, it's about safety. We've already seen how quickly new threats can emerge, forcing companies to respond with urgent patches and updates. So every update you install is not just improving your phone, it's protecting it. From an industry perspective, this also reinforces Apple's ecosystem advantage. By controlling both hardware and software, Apple can quickly identify issues and roll out fixes across millions of devices almost instantly. That's something many competitors still struggle with. For example, in the Android world, updates often depend on manufacturers and carriers, which can delay bug fixes for weeks or even months. Apple's ability to push updates like iOS 26.4.1 quickly is a key reason why its ecosystem feels more consistent and reliable. Now let's talk about what you should do next. If you haven't updated yet, go to your settings, check for software updates, and install iOS 26.4.1. Before updating, it's always a good idea to back up your data, just in case. After updating, keep an eye on your device performance, especially battery life and app behavior. In most cases, things should improve, but if you notice anything unusual, it may take a day or two for the system to stabilize. And finally, stay tuned, because this is not the end. Apple is already working on future updates, including iOS 26.5, which could bring more features, improvements, and of course, more fixes. That's the cycle of modern technology. Build, release, fix, improve, repeat. And in that cycle, updates like iOS 26.4.1 may not be exciting, but they are essential. Because at the end of the day, what users really want is not just new features, but a device that works smoothly, reliably, and securely every single day. And that's exactly what this update is trying to deliver. This is Pie Uncut, and we'll keep breaking down the tech that shapes your everyday life.